So, shooters and reloaders out there, let me show you what I've got here. This is my Dillon 550B battery. This one's set up for large primers. That one's set up for small primers. Today we're going to load 44 Magnum, but we're going to load kind of mid-range ammo. 200 grain Lee round nose flat point bullets powder coated. We're going to use 7.5 grains of unique, verified by my Dillon powder scale, and then mixed brass. For primers, we're using Tula large pistol primers. And the 550B will easily put out 350 to 400 rounds an hour, and that's just working at a nice leisurely pace without really rushing it. I've got 5 primer tubes filled, ready to go to refill the primer tube, and so we're ready to go ahead. Now, if you're a serious competitor or a very dedicated range shooter, you would probably want to go to the Dillon 650, which is the next level of progressive press, which has the automatic advance and extra station here. So the 650 is for a higher volume shooter, but for most of us a 550B will do very nicely. Let you have a good look at those bullets. 200 grain round nose flat points, perfect for using in our single actions and lever guns. And they're powder coated with various colors of Eastwood powder. Once again, the brass is mixed brass that's been wet tumbled, and you see the insides are clean too. Now, most of you are familiar with progressive presses. Has a circular shell plate and a tool head that holds the dies up above. The tool head doesn't turn, stays stationary, but the shell plate turns. So we take an empty case, 44 Magnum case, put it in station 1. Then we work the press, and what happens is this will go ahead and resize the case in the die, as you see there. So resize, deprime. On the bottom of the stroke, the primer feed takes a primer and puts it underneath the case, so that then when we push our operating handle forward, we go ahead and prime the case, as you see there. Prime nicely. No damage to the primer, and it's just under the case head, as you can see. Now then, we cycle the case to the second station, where neck will be expanded, the mouth flared, and 7.5 grains of unique will be charged into the case. But at the same time, we put another case into station 1, because the whole idea of a progressive press is it does more than one operation on more than one case with each pull of the handle. So we pull the handle again and resize and deprime the case we just put into station 1. We come back down, and then we go ahead and prime that case in station 1. Now the case in station 2 comes up, and the die goes ahead and expands the case neck and flares the case mouth and puts that 7.5 grain charge into the case, as you see. Now the case is rotated to station 3, where it will receive a bullet. So we take a bullet and we place it into the case mouth in station 3. Then we go ahead and run that case in where it gets the bullet seated, but at the same time all the procedures are done on the case in station 1 and in station 2. Now when we rotate this round to station 4, that's where it gets the crimp. But we need to put a bullet into the case in station 3 and then put another case into station 1, a brand new case. So now we have all the stations filled with cases, and procedures are being done on all the cases at the same time. Prime the one in station 1, put a new case in, place a bullet on station 3. So all we have to do now, every round, every time we run the operating handle, we'll have a fully loaded round that drops into the hopper as you hear. So see if I can show you what happens when we go ahead and rotate the shell plate, put a new case in 1, a bullet in 3, run the case, and then prime the one in 1, and then repeat. Now other manufacturers have different things going on in the different stations. See if I can show you how this powder measure works. The case activates the powder measure, and then this spring returns the slide here that actually takes the powder, drops it into the case. So watch that. See how it goes ahead and dispenses the charge, and then it returns for the next one. Now the primer tube has an alarm on it so that when the primers get down to the end, it'll warn us that the primers are running out, and at that time we always check the level in the powder in the measure, because when that's low you have to go ahead and replenish this. It would not do to be doing a lot of progressive reloading and you run out of one of these two and not know it. Now reloaders who operate these kind of presses have developed a feel. We know what feels right when we run the handle. We can feel the primer going in. We can feel how much pressure is taking to operate the handle. And if it feels good, we're going good. We're going strong. But if we feel something amiss, then that's when we need to stop and look at the primer or look at the bullet seating, make sure everything's okay before we continue. Now we also feel with our finger as we place the bullet in station 3 that that's in there fairly straight. So we lift out the follower, raise the alarm, and then we refill the primer tube. To refill the primer tube, we go ahead and take a primer tube that has primers in it, place the end against the little funnel on top, pull the pin, and all the primers fall into the tube. Then we look through our primer tube to make sure that they have all fallen out, and they have. Then we lower the primer alarm, carefully put the follower back in until it touches the column of primers. You don't want to ram that in there because then you're acting like a firing pin. Now we always finish by seating the primer so we know we're ready to go and where we are in the stroke. Now it's always good to keep a brush handy to keep debris off your work, and also in the primer arm you want to make sure there's no debris in there, because if there is, every time you see the primer you'll create a little defect in the primer. Doesn't take long and you'll have bins full of great ammo. Look at those rounds. Nice clean brass, nice clean ammunition. Now some people would ask me, why do you have 2 of these Dillon 550s? And the answer is, way back when, many years ago, I was reloading for a big shooting that I was going to be doing. Can't remember exactly what it was, but the linkage, the bottom plate on this press just broke, and it put me out of action, and I had to get a hold of Dillon, and they fixed it right away. But I had to send the press back to them, and so I bought a second one because I didn't want to have that problem again. And that's how I wound up with two of these 550s. Now shortly after I bought the second 550, that's when Dillon came out with the 650. There was a time that the 550B was Dillon's best-selling press, but I've got a sneaking feeling that the 650 is the one that they sell most of today. So there we go, about 470 rounds loaded today. There's our production. Now these are not selected rounds, just pulled out of the box that we put them in. It's just good, clean, safe, reliable ammo. Well, when the coronavirus situation is over and things get back to normal and the range opens up again, we'll do that range party, and I've got the ammo all ready to go. Well, people ask me, why do you use this ammo instead of, say, 9mm when you take people to the range? Won't they enjoy shooting a 9mm more? And the answer is no. The reason why I use this 44 Magnum loaded down ammo for new shooters is because it's very pleasant for them to shoot, and it makes big holes in the target so they can see it much easier than 9mm holes. And it costs me 6 cents a round to load this. So if they shoot the whole 400 rounds, then I'm really going to spend $24, $25 for them to shoot that ammo. But they'll have a good, safe time shooting my single-action revolvers and lever-action rifles, simpler mechanisms, and plus they can go out and tell all their friends they shot a 44 Magnum like Dirty Harry. So Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. Take care and good shooting to you.